Start with. So today we welcome Maline and Catherine, who are talking about supercharging your digital fundraising strategy. Over to you, Maline. We can see your slides perfectly fine now, so it's great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Lizzie. We'll go quickly through the welcome part of this again. Hello, everyone. Again, it's a pleasure to have you here. And I'm excited to co-present with Catherine today on supercharging your digital fundraising strategy, specifically focusing on strategic storytelling to build trust and inspire giving online. So, really briefly, to introduce myself again, my name is Maline Bungum. I'm coming to you from Global Giving UK. Global Giving is a charity registered in the UK and US. Been with them for 6 years now, and I currently lead community operations. My team's job is really to enable our charity partners around the world to do their best in becoming more effective fundraisers, both on and off of our platform. And I'm really pleased also to hand the mic over to my co-presenter, Catherine, to say a quick introduction as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Catherine from Children's Helpers Worldwide, a small international development charity working with children and youth and local organizations helping them. We've been with Global Giving since 2015 and had such an amazing experience with crowdfunding on their platform. Thanks to Maline for inviting me to co-present. My section is pre-recorded because I'm here in Argentina right now and the internet connection is, so-so. But yeah, thank you, Maline.
Thanks, Catherine. All right, so really briefly again, our agenda, a quick kind of welcome and warm up, and then I'll go into Global Giving's framework for digital fundraising and fundraising in general, because they're not entirely separate. I'll then hand it over to Catherine, who'll play her recording with some really practical tips on what Children's Helpers Worldwide's fundraising journey has looked like, and then hopefully we'll have some time at the end for questions. So to get into it, Global Giving, we are a crowdfunding platform. We connect nonprofits, donors, and companies in nearly every country around the world to accelerate community-led change. That's really the bedrock and ethos of our approach to philanthropy, is that we want to get funding into the hands of those closest to the problems and those from the communities that are making that change. And our job really is to, yes, help other nonprofits access the funding, tools, training, support, platform, infrastructure that they need to serve their communities. Here's a real quick look at our website if you are curious, but I will not spend too much time on this because that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking a little bit more about fundraising and crowdfunding. I really love this quote from our co-founder, Mari, who says, "The power of crowdfunding isn't in the funding, it's actually in the crowd." And if you're curious to move into digital fundraising and you've been more used to perhaps traditional fundraising methods, probably part of that incentive is to reach a wider audience that you're not already connected to. The peek into the future of this presentation is that they're not entirely separate. Your network is still going to be key to building your digital fundraising strategy, and we're excited to dive a little bit more into that today. So as a quick warm-up question, I would love for folks to share in the chat a yes, no, I don't know. Do you consider yourself a community organizer? And I'll let you interpret that term as you wish. I'll take a couple minutes here to see as folks come in the chat. And Lizzie, if you could maybe read off what's coming in, that would be great.
Yeah, will do.
So feel free to type in the chat. Do you consider yourself a community organizer? What are we seeing?
So we've got a couple of people who don't recognize themselves as community organizers, and some which are half-half, 50-50.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lizzie. And thank you everyone for sharing. Keep this term and sort of identity marker in mind as we continue in the presentation today. So, spoiler alert, fundraising is community organizing. It is ultimately a relational activity, which our speakers earlier today have also touched on. Fundraising really is this intentional ongoing effort to bring people together under a shared vision for a better future. And who defines that? Hopefully the community and the future that they're seeking. But ultimately, yes, fundraising is really about bringing people together under a concerted effort. A couple more things on what fundraising is to lay the groundwork here. Fundraising is the work as well. So it isn't a separate thing from your programming. It really is an integral part of it. And when you ask someone to donate, you're giving them an opportunity to join you in investing in social change and this vision that you are fighting for. Thirdly, and this one is really important, fundraising takes time. It takes investment. It's a continuous long-term endeavor. So not just time, but fundraising often also takes money and expertise. It really requires a person to bring their knowledge, to bring their networks, to bring some technical finesse, to bring a willingness to learn all of these things. And so fundraising isn't this thing that you can kind of sign up for and suddenly the funds start coming in, but it really is something that is a really long-term effort. And so it may be starting off slow, but over time your efforts will pay off. And finally, yeah, fundraising is really hard and you can do it. So with a clear strategy, a long-term view, and again, consistent effort, anyone can be a fundraiser for whatever cause that you are advocating for. So with that being said, here is a what Global Giving calls your fundraising ready checklist. This is a framework that we provide to all of our charity partners who join our platform for the first time. You may be coming with a lot of fundraising experience. You may be coming for a refresher, but ultimately this is really, if things are boiled down to 4 points, this is what we're really encouraging you to focus on, these four kind of steps to get fundraising ready, both online and also more generally. So starting with plan our strategy, tell our story, a big one, grow our network, and then finally nurture our relationships. So I'll go into each of these four steps today. The first one, planning your strategy. So reflecting on your current fundraising strategy and taking it to the next level through clear goal setting, which is really the key point here. So this begins by first understanding what your fundraising strategy or your own organization's fundraising landscape currently look like. And that could be as simple as creating a list and identifying where your funding sources are coming from, just to get a sense of where you're starting from and where you'd like to go. But that's not all we need. We do need to set some fundraising goals going from there. And one framework, this is not from Global Giving, but one that's used all over the world in different industries, is the SMART goal framework. And SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So specific, when you're making your goal statement, what outcome are you actually seeking? Measurable, how will you know that you've reached your goal? Achievable, can you realistically do it? And can you do it now? Relevant, does it fit into your wider mission? And then is it very clear how it fits into your wider mission? And then finally, time bound. So when must this goal be achieved by? When must it be completed by? So when it comes to bringing a SMART goal into the fundraising planning, focusing on the specificity of it, what outcome are you seeking? There is the programmatic outcome, of course, of what you're trying to do. And then there's how much it's going to cost financially to achieve that outcome. And that number will start informing how you form your fundraising goal. So to go a little bit into what that might or might not look like. So let's say, for example, that your charity's mission is to help underprivileged children flourish at school through access to music education. A potentially not smart goal might be something like what we see here on the left. This year, we want to raise as much money as possible to buy 9 new instruments for the music departments at our 3 partner schools. And we see numbers in there, and there are specific programmatic outcomes, but what we're missing here is specificity and a time boundness for the fundraising effort that will enable that programmatic outcome. So to set a smart fundraising goal for this effort, you might say, between July to December 2025, we aim to raise £10,000 from 100 donors. And then you continue on with your programmatic outcome there. And we will do this by planning out your fundraising activities, whatever those might look like. So we have the time boundness, we have the specific number, we have how many people we'd like to engage in this effort. And those are the things that's really your fundraising goal statement. So here's a really quick framework, a very simple kind of quarterly tool if you'd like. So you might break up that larger fundraising goal you have in 2 quarters. So potentially in the first quarter of the year, you might want to raise £1,000 from 20 new donors. And how might you do that? There are some fundraising activities you could set up. So potentially having an email marketing campaign or a social media campaign where you specifically are looking for £50 donations from 20 donors, and you're going to focus your efforts on getting that done in 2 weeks. That's a very kind of specific online fundraising campaign. You could also have sort of one-time online fundraising events that you lean on other people in your network to sort of spur on for you. So, for example, someone might be having their birthday coming up or a wedding coming up. And we often do see folks, instead of asking for gifts or asking for things to be bought on a wedding registry, encouraging their guests, their friends, their family to give to a cause that matters to them in honor of whatever event they may be celebrating. And so enabling these people in your networks to be able to do a really easy, simple online fundraising event that goes straight to your work. And then, of course, there are traditional fundraising methods like direct requests. You might be going door to door, making phone calls, etc. So that's the first part, planning our strategy. And moving on now to a sort of hefty one, which is telling our story, outlining the story of your work, and then adjusting your key messages based on your donor audience. And stories are how humans understand the world, and that includes convincing other people to support your cause, whether that's financially or through other methods. So here's one framework that Global Giving uses for the charity partners on our platform. Feel free to borrow it if you would like, but just a really simple boiling down everything that you do in one sentence or fewer for each of these sections. What does your organization do and why? The challenge. What is the problem that you're seeking to solve? What's the solution that you are working toward? And what is the long-term impact once you've implemented these things? We're living in a world where everyone's attention is being vied for. People are spending seconds on emails, microseconds on social media posts. So although you are engrossed in the work and you know all of the details, like most folks are probably not going to have the time or at least the interest at the very beginning to see all of that. So you really need to boil it down to essentially what you do and capturing their attention with a sort of like bare minimum amount of information that will hopefully get them curious to then learn a little bit more. Photos are a key part of storytelling, and so some storytelling fundamentals that we advocate for in using photos. So this is whether this is on your organization's social media pages, on your website, in the email banners that you may be sending to your newsletter subscribers, some guidelines to inform your story or your photo selections. The first one is to inspire connection through personal storytelling. So again, we are bombarded by a billion things kind of like coming our way. Can you zoom in on a specific person in your community that you're working with? Tell their story, because it's a lot easier to connect to a single person than to, for example, saying like a city or a village. Like that feels a lot more impersonal to a single person who is engaging with your content. Again, whether in their email inbox or online on social media. So really focusing on personal storytelling as much as you can, giving the microphone to the person featured in the story so that they can tell their story of change in the way that they would like to. The second tip is really to talk about impact in terms of transformation. So again, not just saying that we did this and we delivered this, but what did that thing that you did through the funding that you've gotten so far actually accomplish? What was the change that occurred for that individual and for their wider community? The third one is really to portray your community with dignity and strength. This one is really important because especially when we are talking about digital fundraising, it's often the image or the video that will make or break in those first couple of seconds, whether someone stays to then read what you've written and click on the links that you've included. And so what is that message just with the photo that you're trying to portray about the people and the community that you're advocating for? And so like one question you might ask is, how would I feel if I or my friend or my child or my partner were portrayed in this way? Would I feel comfortable about it? Does it feel like they are empowered in this image? Or is it something that's, leaning on someone's pity? And so, yeah, really pushing more towards picking dignifying photos of your community. And to sort of wrap this all up, Global Giving has worked with our nonprofit partners to create this Global Giving community photo standard document. We can share this afterwards as another a little bit more detailed guide as to how to select the best photos and take the best photos that empower your constituents and also tell your story in an honest way. All of that to say, these are the three things to really pay attention to. Quality over quantity. Again, less is more, especially online when no one really has a lot of time to spend reading through long pieces. The second, simplicity over specialized language. Most donors are not in our sector, and so a lot of the jargon and terms we might use might create a sort of gap between their willingness to or ability to connect to the story you're telling versus the sort of language that we're using around it. And then finally, again, focusing on dignity over despair and pointing towards the more hopeful solutions and impact that you're working toward. All right. Third point now on growing your network. And this one is also really key, identifying individuals or organizations that are likely to support your cause. So I love this quote from Jeremy Reese. Fundraising isn't about the money. That's just one outcome. Fundraising is about people. So really going back to that idea that fundraising is fundamentally a relational and ongoing activity. It's not a one-time hi, goodbye, but it's a hi, thank you, hi again, a thank you, bringing them into the story of what you're doing over time. So your starting point, you may feel that your network, I don't have a network. I don't know where to begin, but here's actually where we're all beginning. Your network is bigger than you think, and we'll get in the next slide or two into getting a sense of how you can start to map that out. Not only is it bigger than you think, but your network either has the cash, the time, or a larger network, more contacts to support your work. So everyone has something to offer if they do resonate with your general mission. And finally, people are more likely to give to an organization when asked by someone they trust. And that's where it's really important to show, although we would love to sort of like put everything out there into the world, like there's still an element of personal connection that is needed even for digital fundraising and bring people into your folds, whether that's your email newsletter subscription list or followers on your social media pages. So network mapping. This is just a really simple illustration to show how you might begin to do that. Identify people within your network and list what you know about them. So closest to you might be your family and friends. The next sort of like area around that might be the staff at your organization, who they know, the board at your charity, the volunteers who work with you, and the people that they know in their communities. And then beyond that, going into professional groups, special interest groups, sports clubs, face groups. And finally, the sort of like world out there. So social media influencers, diasporans, people with similar interests in the wider community. Again, three things that you're looking for as you map out your network. Cash. Can they give cash? These might be potential donors. Can these people give you your time or give you their time? These might be what we call amplifiers who are spreading your story to their networks. And then finally, context. Do they have a larger network and can they be that connecting point for you to expand your own network? Again, here's a really quick template that you can use to map this out, but I know we're short on time, so I'm going to move right on ahead. The last thing here is don't estimate your power. Networks take time to build, and there are no overnight solutions. Again, fundraising takes time, and it's really you and your efforts and your dedication to the long-termness of this that will create an impact. Finally, when you make the ask, you're going to have to make it as easy and smooth as possible for your donor to make their online gift. So whether that's sending them straight to the donation page on your website, straight to the fundraising platform that you use, you do not want them to be clicking through multiple things or having to read through an entire article to get to the call to action to donate. Make it as easy and front of mind for them to send them their support in the form of funding. Finally, really briefly, you want to nurture your relationship. So when people donate, it is incredibly important to say thank you. Again, here's a template, but I know we're short on time. So the message I'm going to leave you with here is to thank your donors in the way they were asked. So if you made the ask over a phone call them back. If you made the ask over social media and they donated through your social media campaign, post about it again. Thank the general community. And also, if you can, do a personal thank you, as long as you have, their consent and all of that. And that being said, that was a really quick run through your fundraising ready checklist. I am most excited now to hand it over to Catherine. I'm going to start playing her recording here now on Children's Helpers Worldwide's fundraising journey. All right. And let me know if the audio does not work.
Hello, everyone. I'm Catherine Franks from Children's Helpers Worldwide. It was so nice to be asked by Global Giving UK to co-present with them during this session, and I'm so glad I had the chance to pre-record my presentation for such a great event. A little bit about Children's Helpers Worldwide. We're a very small charity, and we help to improve the lives of children and youth around the world by working in partnership with organizations running health, education, and poverty relief programs in their local communities. And you can see some of our partner organizations there on the screen. And we currently work with projects in Argentina, China, Ghana, Romania, and South Africa. And we have been on Global Giving's platform since 2015. And CHW grew out of the work of two inspirational women, Madame Ruby in Ghana, who had started a center in a school for children from the villages in her local community, and also Mrs. Gao in China, who started a rehabilitation center for children with disabilities after having a son with cerebral palsy and not being able to find good treatment for him elsewhere. So we started just with fundraising for these projects, and then it grew from there. And what we learned, though, right from the beginning, was that the people who are running these organizations really understand the needs of the children and youth in their communities. And so we never design programs or projects because the people running the organizations are in the best place to understand the needs and also to design and implement solutions. So we fundraise because sometimes they don't always have the resources to do everything they want with their programs and projects. So we help in that way. And if I go to the next slide, this is our first partner organization, New Life in Ghana, which was founded, as I said, by Madame Ruby. And we ran a pilot scheme with them. So what they wanted was to have electricity installed in their center and a water tank for clean drinking water and also a playground for the school children. So we did this. Basically, we just started telling people about New Life's work and about these projects and the need. A community group got involved. We also had students doing supermarket bag packing. And then it worked, and New Life was able to send us the documentation, the photos, and everything. So yes, it was working. People could see the impact they were making, and then CHW grew from there. And we are still working with New Life among many other organizations as well. And you can see in one corner the director, Derek, with two others in the team, Jackie and Caroline. They're actually holding up a CHW sign. And I think it's too small now to zoom in, but it does have our Global Giving link on there as well. And the other pictures just show more recent projects. We were able to fundraise to help repair the school roof after there was storm damage. And these are some food supplies from students that New Life is assisting because they help children and young people. And yeah, we also always used to help with projects for children. But as we were hearing from our partner organizations, children, especially those who then reached 18 and were leaving care or had complex needs, also needed support. So we're able to do the legal and administrative changes to help children and youth. So again, it's always listening to the local communities, our partner organizations, to make sure that we're always responding to them. And when we joined Global Giving, our very first project was for one of our partner organizations called Refugiu in Romania. At that time, they were running a tutoring program for children from a Roma community in a village, and it was an ongoing program. And we just wanted to see perhaps how much we would be able to raise on Global Giving. We didn't know how this would go. It was our very first crowdfunding event. And we thought maybe we would be able to raise money for a few months, and we ended up being able to raise enough for 2 years. So it was amazing. However, it was a very slow start. At that time on Global Giving, the challenge was designed that you had to raise £2,500 from 50 donors within 5 weeks. And at the beginning, it was very slow. We got a few donations from our most loyal supporters, and we were sharing about the appeal, but it wasn't doing so well. And what we learnt from global giving, which is so vital to these sorts of campaigns, is network mapping. I'm sure further on in this presentation, Global Giving will be giving much more details about this, but it's so important. And we were taught to do it this way from Global Giving. You sort of can even do it on a piece of paper, most simple, or with digital tools. You have like a circle and yourself is in the middle, and then reaching out as all the branches of your life. So from your education, from your work, previous work, any clubs you're a member of, social activities, communities, and then you just list all the people from each of those branches. And this is what we did at CHW. We did this exercise, and we came up with people in our networks that we never had thought of to approach for support. And as it was a very clearly defined project and aim, we were able to approach them, tell them about this challenge, tell them about the tutoring program. And also, if they weren't able to donate, we could ask them, could they please share it? And there was a sense of urgency because we had to complete this campaign within 5 weeks. And that time it was to get a place on Global Giving. But I think the way organizations join Global Giving has changed now. But that was our experience at the time. And yes, reaching out personally during the campaign was what saved it for us. No matter what else we were doing with email newsletters, with social media, the personal touch really boosted our campaign. We were able to complete it. We had more than 50 donors. We had more than the amount that we had been set, the £2,500. And at that time, there was also a league table showing the organizations. And towards the end, we leapt from around 16th place to second, because yeah, one of our supporters was very enthusiastic and saw, well, we did okay and we could do even better. So it was very, very helpful during the campaign. And now on Global Giving, one of our active projects is for Ortese Cape in South Africa, and their aim is for children to have the best possible quality of education. And they do this, they teach them about science and technology, but they also train teachers. That's become a big focus of theirs. And so this is what we are doing at the moment. And again, they were responding to needs that they saw in the community, and the teacher training came up as a very big need. And yeah, like I say, we always explain these things to our donors if things change. So before we used to be fundraising more for children's workshops. Now we say like one teacher will teach so many children throughout their career. So it can make a very big impact. And yeah, always keeping the donors updated also has very good results. And on the next slide, I want to show you just some different ways of fundraising. I don't think any of these will be particularly new or surprising to anybody here. It's also not an exhaustive list, so yeah, please feel free to add more suggestions of ways to fundraise in the chat, or anything that you're involved with that's not on this slide. Now, CHW does not do all these ways of fundraising, certainly not all at the same time. We have a small mix, and so digital would sit in there. Our crowdfunding campaigns are part of what we do. And you can find really which fundraising style will suit you best. It depends if there's flexibility within the position that you have right now at your organization, whether you can try different things or not. It might be something to think about over your whole career as a fundraiser. So yeah, my personal style fundraising that I'm most comfortable with is individual giving. I do love speaking with individual people about the projects and about the impact. But yeah, it's not everyone's style. Other people prefer grants. I know someone who just likes writing technical reports much more. So yeah, you find your way, and hopefully to be sustainable, a charity would have a mix, and it would include many things, including digital. I mean, at CHW, we're very small. We're still trying to work to get a good and sustainable balance. And now we will take a look at how to boost crowdfunding campaigns. And this is taken from the business world, really, know, like, and trust. But it also works very well for charities and for getting donations and support. People often come to me saying they want to start their own charity, or that they want to start supporting a charity project that existed, like with their own fundraising page, something like this. And they ask, what's the best way to do this? Should they be looking for grants? And it's like, well, no, if you're just at the beginning, perhaps the best way to start is actually looking for support for people in your own circle. So that's going back to the network mapping. People you know will most likely want to help you and contribute towards your success for a good cause. And so, yes, they know you already, so you've got the first one done. Hopefully, if you've built up rapport with them, or they're in your life anyway, they like you. And then you can build the trust by being very sustainable. So, for example, during a campaign, always keeping any supporters updated with how things are going. And then, of course, reporting back on the impact that they've made at the project. And yeah, whatever you're doing digitally on social media, like I said before, it's so important to reach out personally. I would say, especially for a small charity like CHW, we maybe don't have so much organic reach on social media, don't have so much of a budget either for marketing, actually. So the personal touch is really what helps us a lot during our campaigns with the support, whether it's asking for donations or asking for people to share our campaign. And then I just thought I would keep this slide in about fundraising and mindset. Actually, this was a slide for another presentation I did with Global Giving for some students, but it's a good reminder for me too. So just the thought of asking people for money can sometimes sound quite transactional, but I'm sure we all know this already, but it's not really transactional at all. You're actually giving someone the chance to be a part of a cause bigger than themselves, to be part of something really good, to make an impact. So it's nicer to look at it that way. And without you doing the work that you're doing, these other people would not have the opportunity to give and to make a difference in the way that they will. And if people say no, well, it happens. And I did see some research that was quite a while ago. I don't know if this figure is still current, but by the Institute of Fundraising, that a third of people who make a donation to a charity only did so because they were asked. So yeah, if you don't ask, there's not really a chance of people giving. So yeah, it's always good to keep in mind just the journey that you're on with the fundraising, even though there are obviously disappointments along the way. And also, for another boost of motivation, always remember the reason why you're doing this and the difference you'll be making for the communities that you're supporting. And talking of the communities that you may be working with, it's also very good if you're learning more about digital marketing, digital fundraising, crowdfunding, whatever it might be, to be able to skill share with colleagues. In CHW's case, because we have a partnership model, this looked like us learning about crowdfunding from Global Giving and their excellent training and being able to share it. So this is actually sharing training with Refugiu in Romania. And so that was amazing. Actually, somebody who worked at Global Giving UK very kindly gave me slides for a crowdfunding presentation, and I was able to share them when I was in person at the projects in Romania and South Africa. So yeah, even if it's not with partner organizations, but you have colleagues in different parts of the world, if they're also interested in something like crowdfunding, it means you can all upskill together and all be learning and sharing the journey together and having an input, and maybe someone has a different idea about the campaign. And yeah, so it's really good. And I must say that the training we received from Global Giving was really excellent. And it was so great to be able to share this with our partner organizations as well. And finally, just two little takeaways. Always listen to the community you are serving. I don't think this really needs to be said to a group like this, because I'm sure you're already doing that anyway. But I mean, you could be an amazing fundraiser, but if the project is not in line with the community's needs, then it just won't have the desired impact in any case. And also, fundraising is a learning journey. Like, there's always more to do, more to learn, and of course with digital and new technology, but also like other skills, and just to keep going with passion and persistence, because everybody here is doing such great work. And yeah, just to remember to keep on always refining what you're doing, experimenting, trying new techniques when appropriate, and learning along the way, and just to keep going with the fundraising and the amazing impact that you're having. Do feel free to reach out to me. I would love to hear about your fundraising journey, or if you'd like to hear more about CHW's experience on global giving, I'd be more than happy to share about that or to answer any other questions you may have. And thank you again so much for the chance to co-present today with Global Giving. It has been such a pleasure.
All right, I just want to say a big thank you again to Catherine for pre-recording her segment and being here live today. It's very early in Argentina, so thank you so much, Catherine. Every time I hear you speak, I leave a little bit more inspired. I'm like, okay, I gotta be a better fundraiser. So thank you. Um, all right, so we're gonna wrap up. I know we have not a lot of time. I want to make sure there is a little bit of space for questions. If you are interested in more nonprofit charity-facing content, especially when it comes to crowdfunding, digital fundraising, fundraising in general. I would love to share Global Giving's Learn Library with you. It is our online blog full of resources, tips, frameworks, articles, success stories to learn from. This is available at globalgiving.org/learn. And finally, if you are interested in partnering with Global Giving as a charity partner, please let us know. We have a Pathway to Global Giving onboarding program. There's an interest survey, and we take in a few cohorts every year. If you're looking for a online crowdfunding partner and platform, we would be really happy to hear from you. And finally, thank you so much to you all for being here. Thank you to Catherine again for your time and effort in sharing your expertise. And thank you to SIDCN for convening this fest and creating this opportunity